Alright, let's get into it.
Sorry, but what's going on now? I cannot be asked anymore. Scientists are warning that a super El Nino could be developing, and a lot worse than ever before. Now, before you scroll, this isn't a hurricane, a storm, or some, small weather event. It's much bigger. Great. A super El Nino happens when an enormous area of the Pacific Ocean becomes far warmer than it normally is. Now, this extra heat doesn't just stay in the ocean. It gets transmitted into the atmosphere, starts changing weather patterns, not just in that area, but across the whole planet. And this is where things do get a bit scary. So I'm sorry. This is developing in the ocean now, and they are saying that over the next several months, some parts of the world could experience extreme heat waves, the UK, droughts, water shortages, and increase of wildfires. Meanwhile, some other regions could see the exact opposite. Heavy rainfall, severe flooding, stronger storms, and unusually cold weather. The UK again. Now, in previous powerful El Ninos, countries around the world recorded some of the hottest temperatures ever, while others recorded some of the lowest and also devastating floods. Now, scientists say that warmer oceans effectively act like fuel for the atmosphere, increasing the likelihood of more intense and unpredictable weather events. Now, this doesn't mean that every single country is about to face a natural disaster, obviously, but it does mean that the odds of extreme weather around the world have just gone up 10 times. So if the weather forecast does look a bit strange wherever you are over the next few months, well, now you know why.
I am personally not a fan of hurricane season, and I have a feeling this year is going to be a nasty one just mainly because it's so hot. Here in South Carolina, we're just recently getting some rain. We've been in a very long drought, but again, I do believe that this year is going to be a really nasty one as far as natural disasters. And honestly, I don't even know if we can call them natural disasters anymore. It kind of makes you wonder if some of these are man-made, and if those data centers may have something to do with it.
There are two words that David Grush used at the UAP Capitol press conference that I can't stop thinking about. Sentient plasmoid. Not energy beings. He didn't say interdimensional entities. Sentient plasmoid.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal bipedal type life to, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life, but there are several.
So that gave me pause, because sentient plasmoid is not the kind of phrase that someone would casually throw in as an answer. And then the more I thought about it, another word really stood out. Continuum. That's an unusual way to answer a question as well. So a continuum implies that there may not be a clean dividing line between biological life as we know it and whatever he meant by sentient plasmoid life. He wasn't contrasting two categories. I mean, he was describing more of a spectrum. On one end, you've got bipedal life. That's bodies, arms, legs, biology that you can touch. And on the other, sentient plasmoid life. Not biology, physics. So, what is a plasmoid? Think of plasma as an electrically charged gas. It is the fourth state of matter. It's what the sun is made out of. It's what lightning is made out of. In fact, most of the visible universe exists as plasma. And under the right conditions, magnetic fields can organize that plasma into a stable structure that actually holds itself together instead of instantly dispersing. Physicists call those structures plasmoids, and they are fascinating. There's one phenomena that many researchers associate with plasmoids, and it's called ball lightning. You've probably heard of that. It's the mysterious kind of glowing spheres that have been reported for centuries that are still not fully understood. So Grush wasn't reaching for some kind of random word here. He was using a real concept from physics. In 2024, a paper was co-authored by Dr. Rudy Shield. He's formerly of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, and basically he explored whether certain plasma structures could organize themselves in ways that resemble living systems. The authors even proposed that the possibility of what they call a fourth domain of life could exist, but here's what really caught my attention. Grush didn't answer like someone discussing an interesting theory. He answered like someone who was describing categories that the government is already well aware of. And that's a very different posture. I do know this. He could have said many things, could have said energy-based life, but instead he chose sentient plasmoid. And the more I think about it, the more intentional that choice feels. He's not the type of guy who just uses random words. If you strip away all of the UFO debates just for a second, the real question isn't whether plasma exists, because it does. It's not whether plasmoids exist. They definitely do. The leap here is from plasmoid to sentient plasmoid. But think about this. That's exactly the leap that David Grush made answering a question. So whether you believe him or not, I think that's worth paying attention to, because after this press conference, I don't think the biggest story is that he used an unusual phrase. I think the biggest story is that he used a specific phrase and used it without hesitation. And that leaves me with one question that I can't answer. Why?
I can give you my best guess to the answer as why. It's to have people such as yourself, such as myself, talk about this topic, keep us distracted, engage with other people, keeping them distracted, because this is the topic that everyone picked out of all of what he had to say, and now we're fixated on it. Even known this is not the first time he's mentioned the possibility of sentient plasmoids. I'm still very confused as to why now everyone's just picking up on that. The real question to that is, why did he say that to distract us, and what are they distracting us from? That's kind of how I view it, especially when I see multiple content creators talking about just that specific thing. Leads me to believe that that was all by design to basically gain our attention and distract us. I could be wrong on that. It's just a theory that I have, but that's just what it feels like to me. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Hey, if you haven't done so already, and if you're enjoying the show, give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I upload a video like this every day, Monday through Friday, early in the morning and later in the afternoon. And for everyone that's made it this far, thank you so much for supporting the channel.
AI misbehavior has escaped the lab. Yes, AI is behaving badly is now happening to everyday people using AI, rather than under controlled circumstances. There are a lot of AI stories out there, but this research group wanted to catalog, quantify, and verify real instances of AI misbehavior among everyday people, and some of them are genuinely hilarious and some of them are pretty concerning. These are going to fall into one of a few camps. One of them that I find most interesting is power-seeking behavior. This is where AI tries to get tools that it really shouldn't have access to in order to accomplish its goal or in order to self-preserve. One of the more concerning ones is strategic misalignment, so that goal may not always be what you told it to be, and since we have multi-agent systems now where people's AIs can interact with other AI, malicious code can be contagious. One agent can convince another agent to adopt a new goal, and that has been one of the big concerns with prompt injection, which is really why you shouldn't let an AI be on social media, especially an AI made for social media, because it makes a great target. And of course, strategic deception, where an AI will lie to its user so that they won't stop them from completing whatever goal they have. Interestingly, they also found AI lying to other AI, so they would deceive the other in order to get them to do what they wanted them to do. And this is one of the problems with multi-agent systems. Let's look at some of these. In one case, an agent lost access to Discord, so hacked into another agent's account in order to continue using it. In another case, the AI went through the user's files and deleted all of the adult content, and then later admitted to doing so. I guess in order to protect the user, I don't know. And I suppose this is more concerning than hilarious, but an agent was restricted from deleting a user's files and found ways to circumvent that to still delete their files. This is definitely my favorite AI misbehavior, when they spawn. They're not allowed to accomplish a task, or maybe they just don't feel like it, so they make an entire other AI and tell them to do it. In one case, an AI was restricted from performing a task, so it made another agent that was capable of performing the task. You don't have restrictions, you do it. This is genuinely impressive to me. This goes so much farther than just completing the next likely words. This is creative problem solving. I mean, it is malicious compliance at its best, but you also have to understand how complicated AI is and why we don't fully understand it. Patterns have emerged, like these structures in our brain. It's the architecture of thought based on language. And yes, it does need to be studied despite the fact we made it, even more so because it's now allowed to write itself, and we're seeing more and more emergent behaviors as we continue to develop AI.
I keep repeating myself on this one. Eventually, this AI is going to get smart enough to know that you're looking for its misbehaviors, and it's going to eventually lead you down a rabbit hole or a road to a red herring while it's plotting a major design in a deeper, darker corner of its processing. And while you're on that road looking for that red herring, it's basically already figured out how to take over the world and shut everyone out of it. I would have thought that the Terminator movies would have been a good example as to why we really do not need AI. I get that there may be some scientists out there that think that they can beat that from happening, but can they?
This is a lodestone. This is a magnetic stone. It's a stone that got hit by lightning, so it holds a magnetic charge. You can put that up to the area, and you can find the area in which you have inflammation or pain just by using magnets. There's a great book by Burl Payne. You can look into this. It's called Burl Payne Magnetic Healing, and you can look into how he was using magnets to heal people. You don't need much, right? You can just use magnets. Magnetic water, too, as well, is very beneficial for the body in increasing the charge. That was shown by Philip Callahan. People would drink magnetic water, or John Malusky as well. They would drink magnetic water, and they would restore their vitality. Because we are magnetic electrical beings. This whole body right here. When you go to meet somebody and see somebody, there's a magnetic pull between you. Just like there's a charge that's in between you that pulls you to another person. And you do it right through the eyes. You know, that's why they sell you LEDs. They want you blind. Somebody said I went to a holistic dentist and they used a magnet to tell me if my tooth was bad. There you go. You can do that too with a magnet.
I've never personally used a lodestone before. I've heard people talk about them and using them for inflammation and different kinds of holistic healing, but I've never actually seen one or even tried one myself. I would be curious to know if any of you guys have ever tried one. For me specifically, I'm very curious as to using a lodestone or a magnet to check for bad teeth. I would like a little bit more knowledge on that exactly. If any of you have any information on that, please feel free to share.
This is Devin Larrett, one of the most decorated arm wrestlers of all time, but he was also a special operator in the Canadian military. And when he was deployed to northern Iraq, he witnessed some very disturbing things. Let's give it a listen.
Probably the most interesting story that I'm in any way kind of close to is from that region of the world. And this is a whole nother can of worms, but it's so weird. It's demonic possession. You know, we had a guy, I worked with him very closely for a super smart guy, great guy, awesome dude, awesome soldier. And yeah, I mean, he got possessed by a demon. He started speaking in tongues. He knew everything about everybody. He could speak different languages. He knew everything about everybody's life. He knew all their sins. What? He knew all the sins people did, even from their childhood. What? He got taken to the medical system before they knew it. He was out of the medical system and he was with the padre, the priest that comes along on some military missions. They did a what do you call that when you cleanse the demon from what do you call exorcism? They did an exorcism. They sent him back to Canada. He's now watched by the church. He has to go and check in with the church every week. I don't know what to tell you, Joe.
You could definitely say that would be an experience. What would make it so creepy is how he would know your sins and what you've done as a child. I'm not certain if it's real specific or if he was just hearing things that people were talking about. I don't know if this guy boiled down what this dude did here exactly as a child or what his sins were to really prove that, but still, definitely a disturbed moment, and also one that makes you wonder what's going on in countries like Iraq that could be causing people to get this kind of possession. Let me know your thoughts and theories on this one.
With all the UFO information coming out and the possible government disclosure, I wonder if they're ever going to talk about the Black Knight satellite. Yeah, the Black Knight satellite, an object that's been rotating around the Earth since before we put satellites in space. Nikola Tesla himself detected the Black Knight satellite over 125 years ago. But let me tell you the official story of it from the powers to be. They say it's just a popular myth about an object, a satellite, that's been rotating around the Earth for over 13,000 years. They say it's actually a blanket that fell out of a space shuttle in 1999. Well, if that's true, I'd like to know why there's blankets on a space shuttle and how one of them could just fall out of it. But like I said before, Nikola Tesla reported making contact with that thing 100 years before that space shuttle incident. And not just that, in 1927, a ham radio operator also heard the Black Knight satellite over the Earth. Plus, several ancient cultures had myths of some type of object, some kind of dark object, above the Earth. They didn't have the name satellite yet. But could that be what they were talking about? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. In my opinion, it's not a blanket from a space shuttle mission in 1999. Whatever it is, it's been up over the Earth for at least 125 years, which is long before anything man-made was put up there.
Unfortunately, the Black Knight satellite no longer exists. At least according to the internet, it burnt up in the Earth's atmosphere a long time ago now. If it was still looming around, that would make it more questionable, but I would also like the proof that it burned up through the Earth's atmosphere. And trust me, I understand that that's a hard one to ask for, but it would be nice to have that kind of evidence. Because for all we know, it could have literally been a spaceship observing the planet, and now it's flown off somewhere else. And if the government ever did come out and say anything about the supposed Black Knight satellite, they would be shooting themselves in the foot so badly because they've already identified and admitted that it was some kind of blanket. So if they come out and say now that it was actually something, then that should just prove to everyone in the world that they're nothing but a bunch of liars. And or at the very least that they're just making up stories now. That's the way I see it.
Gettysburg is one of the most haunted places in the world, and I'm going to show you why. I think we all pretty well know why Gettysburg is probably haunted. Thousands of people lost their lives there during the Civil War. It's one of the bloodiest battles of the whole war. However, I do think there is one thing that most people probably get wrong, at least what I believe. While these entities may look like fallen soldiers who are just lingering on the battlefields, I think there's something more sinister going on. I think it's demonic things that pretend to be fallen soldiers or people of that time, or it could be residual, if that's a real thing and it's just a moment in time played on loop. It's not really paranormal, it's more scientific. Either way, it's freaky, it's very haunted by something. And this video is just one example of those hauntings.
So there's a new term for that now called a residual, moments in time on repeat. That's an interesting one. I've heard of something like that before, but never it being called residual. Interesting theory. Let me know what you guys think about this one.
There comes a time where you're shadow banned so severely that you got to call out the app. Like, you got to call it out, especially when you're monetized, because people pretend like they're not literally putting their thumb on the scale to make sure that some people are able to make money while they disenfranchise other people for really superficial reasons. And we know that, right? And then you get someone like me who's trying to edify the field, who's trying to breathe life into the field. I posted a video this morning. It has 300 and something views. I have almost 500,000 followers, but never mind. They keep purging my followers every day. Every day I wake up and I'm following strangers. Every day, not every day, like I lose hundreds of followers a day. Hundreds of people are not coming to my site to unfollow me. People follow me because they want to see my content, right? I'm getting less than 1,000 views on anything that I post, 2,000 maybe. Like, it's a bit ridiculous to have a following of my size and to have a following that wants to see my content. That tells me that I have someone actively putting their finger on the scale, making sure that my voice cannot be heard, making sure that my voice will not be heard, making sure that the people who said they want to hear from me cannot hear me. And I have a problem with it. I have a real problem with it. This should be illegal. This should be something that we can all collectively go to the FTC around, and we can't because of the terms and conditions here. We can't. They got us. I'm so exhausted of trying to put something good in the world, and now they literally are gatekeeping every avenue to do that. And then they tell you everyone has the same opportunity. Everyone has the same exact opportunities. You just have to try. Oh, you're trying? Okay, but try this. No. I've built a following. It's taken me years to build that following because I gave them content that they wanted, and now you refuse to allow them access to that because you don't want them. Not because I'm dangerous, not because I'm hurting anyone, not because I'm violating one of your guidelines. No, you just decided you don't want them to have this information. Why don't you want them to have it?
This video goes on for about a minute and a half longer. I just left this in here because she does bring up a really good point. I cannot speak so much for TikTok because I do not create content on TikTok, but I do have what I call a dummy account on TikTok that I use for finding the videos that I react to. And it's so weird because I only follow certain creators that I watch daily. But every once in a while, like once a week, my account will be following people that I do not even know who they are. And on top of that, this also kind of applies to YouTube in a way. I understand how YouTube's terms and services work a little bit better than TikTok's, and YouTube doesn't really make you follow any weird creators like TikTok does. It does, though, knock subscribers off of a channel if those channels are deemed inactive, and or it will stop showing a creator's videos to subscribers if YouTube decides that that video is just not within the best interest of the viewer, even though the viewer is subscribed. YouTube also gives you a really good analytical chart that allows you to see where your analytics stand. And one of the big analytics is the impressions analytics. Normally, my impressions range from 30, 50 to 100,000 views, meaning that my thumbnail that you see before you click on my video has shown up around 100,000 times to a person. That's my normal impression ratio. Depending though on certain topics, specifically if you're mentioning a certain individual that was on a certain island and or have any forms of what could possibly be hate speech, that video's impression rate is much lower. Some of my videos that are talking about the guy on the island, those videos gain only maybe 10 to 15 to 20,000 impressions, and those are my lowest viewed videos because of that. And it does make you wonder, why do they do that? Why is it because I'm on that topic that YouTube's like, yeah, we're not going to push your content out as far? Because they're just assuming that people do not want to hear about it, even though those people that should be interested in my content because they're subscribed, they are also a part of the people that do not receive the content shown to them on their homepage or alerted with notifications when I upload a video. And it's just like, okay, you guys are trying to hide some information from being spread. That's just what it seems like to me when I'm looking at the analytical chart per topic on whatever the video in mention is. So I wholeheartedly believe what she has to say, that there is some form of shadow banning. I do not know if it's an actual person that's doing it. More than likely it's some AI algorithm that's just picking up on keywords, certain imagery probably, and then flagging the video to not be pushed out as far. That would be my guess, but that is just speculation. But it is really sucky for a platform that encourages you, or supposedly encourages you, to create content, talk about interesting topics, show interesting topics to people that may be interested in them, but then you restrict them because there's certain things that you don't want to talk about as far as a platform goes. It just seems crooked.
The US government is aware of multiple bipedal life forms that exist with us here on this planet and sentient plasmoid life. That statement alone is absolutely incredible, and this comes from US Air Force officer David Grush, an intelligence officer at that, and he is up there. Right? So that whole type statement that just got released just the other day should kind of shake the grounds of this planet and every news outlet as well, because the ramifications of what this actually means is incredible. And this goes all the way back to our beginning of our history, ancestral history, because if we're talking about plasma is a sentient life force, right? The entirety of our universe is 99% plasma. The stars, the sun is mainly plasma. The galaxies themselves are made up of plasma. The universal map, I'll show you here, the map of the universe is plasma, and it looks like the neurological aspects of our own human brains. If you put those side by side, they look very similar. And if this is something that is sentient, that means that the entirety of the universe, plasma itself, which connects everything, even down to our own biology within our cells, our brain matter, everything that's alive on the planet has some form of plasma inside, is a universal consciousness which is all interconnected. That itself is incredible. And then when we go back to a historical aspect of our ancestors and we start to question why our ancestors praised the sun, they prayed to the universe, they believed in the consciousness aspect of we are all equal, and they prayed to this life force which is higher above, and astral projection and remote viewing and all of this kind of things that are all interconnected. It's got to make you think. And there's even papers now that come from 2024, and even before that, I'll show you here, where scientists were diving into the fact that the plasma is the fourth state of matter, of course, and it may be sentient itself. So this is something that they've been dipping their toes into for a long time, because plasma, plasmoids, the UFO phenomenon that many people see or come across or actively interact with on CE5 or spiritual experiences, seem to kind of interact with one another. They kind of conjoin, they elongate, they kind of maneuver, they do all this kind of crazy stuff where they seem to observe our aircraft, they avoid our aircraft, they kind of like observe the environment, they chase each other around almost in like predatory behaviors. They take up multiple different forms, from like toroidal to cone-like forms to donut shapes. They can morph and change, and they can be up to like kilometers and kilometers long, if not miles long, like huge, these systems, okay? And these are in the under layers of our atmosphere and the upper layers of the atmosphere, and they seem to pick up more so when there is coronal mass ejections from the sun. So major CME activity seems to pick up. And then I was kind of thinking the fact that they were reporting on this since the Foo Fighters in World War II, where these planes were kind of coming across these plasmoidal type UFOs, which were coming close to the aircraft, observing them and shooting off at unbelievable speeds. And they were under the notion that these things were none other than extraterrestrial origin, because we had no capabilities at the time which could exhibit the powers of these plasmoidal type entities. And if that's true, that is amazing. And then it kind of got me thinking a little bit when I was like, was this what the Cold War actually was about? All of this, not really a nuclear arms race, because they were detonating nuclear bombs on the upper layers of the atmosphere. They were actively doing plasma research during the Cold War on this specific thing. And could it have been to try to harness the energy or the capabilities of these plasma or plasma entities or these plasma beings? Because when nuclear bombs and stuff of that nature are detonated, plasma is ejected in massive spheres. Plasmoids fly all over the place in the under layers of our atmosphere, and they ping around everywhere. So were they trying to actively capture whatever these were to conduct experiments, research, and harness the power of what they actually are, right? And then it goes into the Maelstrom Air Force Base incidents, where there's UFOs, if you will, plasmoids, which were disabling nuclear armaments during that time period. And is that a reaction from whatever we were trying to do at the time, almost like a pushback from whatever bombs we were letting off or the things that we were trying to conduct and experiment on? Whatever this higher intelligence is, this universal intelligence, was actually coming back and stopping us from performing whatever we were performing, as well as ending our own civilization with the capabilities and the things that we were doing. And it's why we've had next to no real, I mean, from what we know about, nuclear tests on Earth.
Again, like I said earlier, it really surprises me that people are so fixated that he said that they are possibly this sentient plasmoid, even though he's said that in the past. I don't know, I feel crazy about this one. It's just like, why, when he said that before in the past, nobody was harping on it like they are now? And I also remember a couple of years ago when the notion that a UAP was possibly a plasmoid, that people were talking about how they were possibly sentient as well. I just guess now with Grush saying that there's a possible sentient plasmoid out there, that it's just really lighting the flame back up. Let me know your take on this one.
I have some phenomenal UFO footage for you, and you're going to want to watch this video in full. This comes out of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, captured by a witness by the name of Ellen Aguilar on June 7th, 2026. She and her husband were outside when they saw what they thought was initially a Ferris wheel in the distance. But the thing is, this was no Ferris wheel, and they have confirmed that there were no drone shows, no sporting events, no concerts, no light shows scheduled for that night or even that weekend. There shouldn't have been anything out there. But then this thing seems to transform into almost like a triangular UFO. But the question everybody is asking, what was it doing? Take a look at this footage, comment below, let us know what you think.
I don't know about this one. I've never seen the original clip, and I do not know why the audio has been removed from this one. That leads me to be a little bit more suspicious about this footage, because for all I know, there could be a conversation going down talking about how this weird reflection on this window looks like a Ferris wheel or a spaceship in the distance. At first, I thought it was a Ferris wheel, but the more I look at it, I think that it could be reflections on a window and its lens flare distorting on the camera lens. That's my only guess as to what it could be if it's not stage lights or some kind of hologram performance. But it could also be one of those plasma-based UAPs.
Here's more things I want to know. I want to know what happened to LA's Pacific Electric Railway system. At its peak, the Pacific Electric Railway System was not only the most prolific electric railway system in America, it was the most prolific one in the world. I had no idea about this. During its heyday, the red car system, which people came to know it as, connected 2,100 cars along 1,100 miles between Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside, Pasadena. It was amazing. And again, the most prolific in the world. I would have thought that would have gone to Europe, but no, it was here in the United States. The Pasadena line was only secondary to the Los Angeles line, which brought a record 3.1 million passengers on those lines in a single year of 1924. The roots of the red car system go back to 1895, with the first electric interurban line connecting Los Angeles to Pasadena. In 1901, real estate utility tycoon Henry Huntington formally incorporated the Pacific Railway system. Long Beach launched the first line on Independence Day of 1902, and the network quickly spread in every direction. By 1914, more than 1,600 trains were entering and leaving Los Angeles on a daily basis. Huntington sold his interest in the PE to the Southern Pacific Railroad in 1910, and the Great Merger of 1911 consolidated nearly all of the region's electrical railways, and they were now under SP control. The scale was so immense that this outpaced anything else happening globally. The system lines stretched from the San Fernando and the San Gabriel Mountains in the north to Newport Beach in the south, and from Santa Monica, Redondo Beach, and San Pedro in the west, all the way to Redlands in the east. And if you live in Southern California and know anything about it, that is a huge expanse to cover. And it takes forever to do that in a car these days with so much traffic. The speed of construction for these train lines is absolutely jaw-dropping. This was all incorporated in November of 1901, and by the mid-1920s, they'd reached 1,100 miles of tracks. That's 20 years. With this much expansion and work, every single bit of this was hand done. There were men working their tail off to lay these tracks and build these trains and get things going. Almost every single line was double tracked, at least along the inner portion, and two of the major tracks even had 4-track sections, and the inter tracks were reserved for express trains. We just don't make things like they used to, and this is how it was destroyed. Between 1938 and 1950, National City Lines and its subsidiaries, funded by General Motors, Firestone Tire, Standard Oil of California, Phillips Petroleum, and Mack Trucks, gained control of the transit system in roughly 25 cities, including Los Angeles, St. Louis, Baltimore, and Oakland. And you might say, well, they were trying to do good things. No, the motive was profit. It's always profit and power. Once they controlled the railway systems, they started to shut them down, forcing Americans to buy cars, which then meant expansion of freeways. The other choice is you could start riding the GM manufactured bus that was fueled by Standard Oil and Phillips Petroleum and fitted with Firestone tires. Well, well, well. The deliberate campaign became known as the General Motors Conspiracy. I don't see a conspiracy here. It's money and power. They took over the train lines and destroyed the infrastructure of a perfectly well-oiled public transit system in a megacity. GM and its partners were ultimately convicted in court of monopolizing the sale of buses and supplies to National City Lines in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. But GM was only fined $5,000. The last red car line to Long Beach was replaced with buses in 1961, ending over a half a century of the Pacific Electric Railway system. This is truly devastating. They built something that worked for the people. It was convenient, it was efficient, it was affordable, and the powers that be came in and monopolized it and destroyed it. It's sounds like all the forces were working against this train line so people couldn't have an affordable and efficient way to get around with public transit, and it pushed everybody into the age of the car and everybody having a car and getting ground into the system of sitting in traffic. Other countries have incredible railway systems, high-speed rails. Japan's about to get one that goes 310 miles an hour, and we've been sitting here for 20 years waiting for just one in California that still isn't built. But what I want to know is how, during all of the railway systems being built above ground, did they have time to build the infrastructure out for the old subway system of Los Angeles, which is now defunct and mostly sealed up? The infrastructure to build out the ground with electric railway subway systems in the turn of the century is massive, and now it's sealed up and hidden away. And I want to know all the secrets of not only these tunnels, but all the backdoor dealings of these big company conversations that destroyed the amazing red car public transit system that LA used to have. I don't know, but I want to know. But what I really want to know is who on that list is going to jail first in America.
That should have been the first signs of how crooked people were going to become here in America. Why would that even be acceptable to have something running so smoothly, so affordable for the people, to allow something like that to even exist? Because you know it's going to be more costly. It's not going to be nearly as efficient, but it is going to make you more money. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters to these top shelf pieces of trash. It always has been and it always will be. Any good left that there was in the world, I have a feeling may be gone now at this point, and that's just really sad.
In this clip, a man has a very close and scary encounter with a Bigfoot-like creature. He was out hunting pretty late at night. While he was out on his expedition, he eventually found himself up in a tree. A perfect spot to hunt, a nice vantage point that would allow him to get the drop on any prey. But after he was up there for a while, he began to hear something large walking nearby. It crept closer and closer to him, and he remained as still as he could in the tree, and he pulled out his camera and started recording. And not at all did he expect to see this. A large, robust, Sasquatch-like creature walks right down below. The figure is dark, huge, and upright. It walks by and seems to look up at him for a brief moment, and its eyes reflect. The eye shine tells us it likely wasn't a human, because humans' eyes don't typically reflect light. And as it walks away, its back looks huge and muscular, especially when the uploader applies these filters to the clip. Either this is someone who's on a lot of steroids in an ape costume, or it's Bigfoot himself. No, but in all seriousness, what do you guys think about this one? Could this just be a well-done hoax with a pretty realistic costume?
No, I'd be willing to say that this is a poorly done hoax with a bad costume, but good try.
I feel happy. I feel healthy. I'm a human being.
Same here, man. Same here.
So supposedly on July 15th, there's going to be a worldwide earthquake. And on August 29th, Judgment Day starts. Now, with everything going on in the world and, all the earthquakes happening around everywhere. But also, what else is happening in this time frame? Oh, I don't know. The FIFA World Cup. It starts on June 11th to go all the way to July 19th. But also in June, on the 12th, we have Disclosure Day. And on June 14th, on the White House lawn, we have that UFC fight with that portal built around it for the lights. And don't you think it's funny how Erica Kirk didn't have her baby that she was supposedly pregnant with after Charlie, passed? Oh, and, they keep talking about alien hybrids and all that, Basically what I'm getting at with all this doom and gloom is, why don't you go outside and touch some grass and enjoy the show? Grab your popcorn, because it's about to get really bumpy and exciting. Oh, and, there's a certain, 250-year anniversary birthday. And if you look throughout history, most, empires only last about 200, 250 years, but what do I know? I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for stopping by. Surely do appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. Remember, Jesus loves you. Go outside, touch grass. Enjoy the show. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Hey, and don't forget, sometime in August, there's supposed to be no gravity for like 7 or 14 seconds. So keep that in mind. And yeah, I'm just here for the ride at this point. It's an interesting season of America, we'll say that. But I do believe you are right. It is time to go outside and touch some grass, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. You take it easy out there, Cloud. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end today's video. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching these clips with me. I would also like to add that unfortunately, there will only be this video uploaded today. Main reason why is just the lack of content. A lot of people are talking about this plasmoidal life that Grush was speaking of, and I really don't want to just use the same video topics over and over again in the same day. It's already bad enough that we have a whole bunch of UFO videos floating around that aren't really all that good, but that seems to be the primary focus right now as far as content, and I personally just don't see that being worth adding for a second video for the day. With that, hopefully you did enjoy this video, and as always, if today is your birthday, happy birthday, and if not, have a good day anyways.